My stash was in need of some guys cards, and luckily I just discovered a brilliant new stenciling system perfect for masculine cards. Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik, and I was thrilled recently to discover a new stamp and stencil duo from Blue Knight Rubber Stamps. Have you ever tried to stamp through a regular thicker stencil and that was too thick, or brush ink through a flimsy skinny stencil? Blue Knight has solved those issues with their stencil and stamp through sets of stencils that has both a thicker and a thinner one. I couldn't resist this Mama Bear stencil and stamp through set, as well as the Mama Bear and Friends stamp set. And this is the first card I created so easily with those two stencils and some of those stamps. So I'm going to show you how they work, but I stenciled the bear. I added a little texture with another stencil, stamped the little cute baby bears there, and added some words and some stenciled grass there. Now, of course, all the details on all the cards that I show will be on my blog, and there are links to those blog posts and also to the products featured in my description box. Here is my favorite of the cards that I've made so far. I added some embossing after I did the stamping and then stenciled the bear, and I'm going to show you how to do that with another one later in the video. I also couldn't resist the maple leaf set. So this is the thicker of the two stencils, and I'm going to show you how they work in just a minute. I years ago had seen a pretty card, and I had tried to create my own leaf stencil out of acetate, but if the acetate was real thick, you didn't get a good die cut, at least not in my opinion. The edges were not good, and if it was too thick, you also couldn't stamp through it. So this idea from Blue Knight solves both of those problems. And of course, you also get the masks too. So if you wanted to do some stenciling and then mask it and then add ink around, you could do that as well. And this is the first card that I created with that set so easily. I just brushed on some color and did the stamping, add a sentiment, a card made in just minutes, but really, really pretty. Here's one that I made with a favorite cloud stencil from A Colorful Life Designs. So I actually put the cloud background on the whole thing, and then I did a little stenciling with some black ink lightly to highlight the leaf and added some stamping there. These stamps here are small scenery stamps from Stampendous. And did you know that Fran's awesome line of Stampendous stamps are now available through Spellbinders? So I thought I would share that because I was very excited to see that. And they're going to be coming out with some more sets by Fran and Stampendous. Of course, masculine stenciled cards don't have to be stamped. Here I used some new stencils and die cuts from Frantic Stamper for this Father's Day card. Here's another set that I got from Blue Knight, and I'm going to show you what is often the problem with regular stencils. I wanted to use this whole scene, and it was too big through the two smaller stencils that I got from them, so I just tried a traditional stencil here, and I wanted to stamp this along the bottom, but here's what you see what happens when you're stamping through a regular thickness of a stencil. you're gonna get that line. There's no way that stamp is gonna continue all the way to the bottom here. And I even got some extra lines there because of trying to stamp that large stamp with the stencil up too far. So again, this system does solve that issue. So I am going to use the Leaf Stencil Duo to stamp a pretty stamp and brush on ink for a beautiful image, I think. Okay, so this is the thinner of the two stencils. I showed you the thicker, but I'm going to start with the thinner because I want to do my stamping first. I have to stamp before I can emboss, and I like that, adding that embossing detail. So I have to show you, I have a new product from the Stamps of Life that I have been using and using. Now, of course, I have a stamping platform, but sometimes you just don't want to pull that out to stamp, especially if you're doing like one little stamp here and here, and I couldn't put this whole thing into my Misty or whatever very easily. But I am going to put it onto this. And this just has enough of a foam here that I can stamp wherever I want and not be concerned. And I so far, 100% of my images have been good. Watch me in the video, you don't have an issue. But I don't think I will, because this gives you really good firm surface, but yet a little bit of movement there that it stamps really good, and I am highly recommending it. So I have this taped down to the Stamps of Life platform, and I have chosen to use that big tree with the owl on here. And I have some of the smaller deer, and then I have a sentiment. And the sentiment is from Stampendous again. I have always loved their stamps, and I'm glad to see they're now available through another market. So I am going to ink up this bigger stamp, and I'm going to do this on the right side. At least that's the plan. And I want it to come off because, and I'm going to have to stand up to do this, to come off the bottom. Yep, that's pretty good. I have a black marker if I need to add a little extra once I pull that off, but I don't think I will. And then I'm going to stamp the deer. Over there. And then pull that off, and I should be able to line the other one up with where those lines stop. And then I am going to quickly add a little texture. Oh, look what I did. I got some ink on my finger, of course, but we'll cover that up with something. Probably from handling the stencil, right? Run that through my machine. Which I have to have off camera because that is big, of course. They say sometimes if you catch it soon enough, you can use your mono adhesive sand eraser to get that ink left. That's pretty much better. I don't think anybody will see that. Cool. Alright, so now I am going to take the thicker stencil and line that back up. That looks pretty good. No, yes, okay. Think about your steps here. Yeah. And now I want to add some color. I'm going to make a rather bright sunset scene with my new favorite inks for blending. I have the Simon Hurley Triple Berry, the Simon Hurley Crown Me, and the Midnight Snack. I decided I wanted a purple sunset scene. And with that embossing in there, we're getting more texture right in the inside of that leaf too, which is really cool. I don't want to get these mixed up. Let's see how that beautiful leaf stenciling, and we're getting it's thick enough to ink through very well, but that other one was thin enough to stamp through, so I think it's just a great idea. So that is, I knew I wanted to do something before I did the stenciling. I wanted to do the sentiment stamping as well, but we'll just decide that this is pretty just the way it is. I had the sentiment out to stamp along here and here, but now that the embossing's down, I can't do that, but that's okay. I think I'm still going to love the way this one turned out. And perhaps for my picture I might do another one, but you can see that I was able to stamp through there and also stencil beautifully, and that embossing picks up some extra texture there. I was going to layer it onto some black, and then onto, I cut it down first, which might get rid of some of those mistakes as well, onto a purple card. When you see my blog post, it will be totally completed, but I did want to share that great new stamping and stenciling set of stencils from Blue Night. I had great fun making these cards for my stash, and the next time I need a card for a special guy, I'll have plenty. I hope my cards inspire you to give some of the products and ideas I feature to try, and then send some of your handmade joy out into this world.